This is I Love Black People Radio on HUR Voices, Sirius XM, Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are.
And welcome again to another edition of I Love Black People. And we've been blessed today to have a wonderful sister who's really done quite a bit of work in the tech space that's been very compelling to help so many of our people to not get left behind. We've been blessed to have our good sister Olayinka to join us. Welcome to I Love Black People, sister.
Thank you very much, St. Clair. It's great to be here with you. My name is Olayinka Odeniran. I am the founder of Black Women Blockchain Council. It's an organization that's created really to make sure that Black women, along with the Black community, does not get left behind in this blockchain ecosystem. So we train, we educate, we raise awareness, and we also promote Black women in this space. We're all about community, so I love Black people too. Yes.
No, humbly, no, thank you. And we don't have a community without our sisters. The sisters are key. And as a man, I know I wouldn't got here if it wasn't for a sister. So praise God for your focus on the right things at the right time and the right topic. So tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you do it. I know the listeners are like, what is all this about? So what are you doing, good sister?
Yes. So, I got into this space actually in 2015. And funny enough, it was a Black man that introduced me to Bitcoin. And Samson Williams was his name, and is his name actually. And Samson was adamant about me getting into Bitcoin. And I actually talked to him for a very different reason. But because he was persistent, unfortunately, at the time, I was working in the financial industry. So I couldn't just jump into this funny money to me at the time. So I did my research. I did my own research, and fell in love with the technology. And it was because around that time, we were going through election cycle. So many things was happening in the world. Being that I'm Nigerian, there's things that's happening in Nigeria, and it all comes down to trust, right? And so here's this technology that talks about transparency and creating that trust and being able to, utilize tech for the intended purpose of, benefiting humans, right? So it came at the right time, and I was just like, oh my God, this is what we need, like the diaspora needs this, And I just fell in love. I became a blockchain enthusiast. Eventually, I did get into, the cryptocurrency and participate in the ICO craze. But really, what the organization that I created really is to educate people about this technology and for us to see that there is us in here, right? That it doesn't go the way of Silicon Valley. Because it's a new version of technology that we're utilizing now. I want to make sure that we are builders. We are in this, and there's no way that people can use an excuse that there's no Black people. I hated when they did that, because I was surrounded by computer science majors, the alphas, like you say, Claire, they were all up in engineering and computer science. And then to come out of school and have Silicon Valley redefine our interests, right? Because they were gatekeeping, that was just disheartening. And so with this tech, it was just basically us putting us at the forefront and making sure that we are finding solutions, are utilizing this technology in ways that is intended and is necessary.
Well, let's even delve even to the part of it. And this is the part that I think is important, and having you here, we're blessed to actually be able to kind of talk about in an intelligent way. How about the misogyny, the sexism, some of the things that don't get spoken about. And again, even in our Black community, just, being colonized and being in this system, there are things that we've now adopted in some very unfortunate ways that can really create low ceilings for the better half of our community. What are some of the things that you see as important in dealing with these issues of sexism, misogyny, and innovation and technology in Silicon Valley, in particular, Bitcoin, blockchain?
Some of the things that I see is there's a shift in mindset, right? When we come into this space. I jumped in around the time where, there was really not that much hoopla about what's going on. There wasn't that much buzz, but then there was little women in this space. So one of the things that we need to do is, be able and be willing to take that risk. One thing that we're finding out is that risk is leading to opportunities, especially in this space. Another stuff is realize that, people aren't, sometimes some people aren't going to open doors for you. You have to make those doors open for you. The reason why I created BWBC as opposed to waiting for somebody to do it or complaining, right, is because I saw that there was an opportunity and I just took it. So there's lots of opportunities in this space for us to show up however we want to show up. If you see that there's something that's lacking or there's no focus on a certain demographic of people or a certain, need, then, you're free to come into the space and create a community based on that intended purpose. So it is just the freedom, for us to show up however way that we want to show up.
Yeah, and I like you even alluded to your background as a Nigerian sister as a part of our greater community. I think someone said 1 out of 5 Black people is actually Nigerian. I know the numbers are right. The numbers, they say 200 million, and somebody said, well, that's still not enough. It's actually more. What do you see then on the international stage? I would go to conferences and they would talk about the underbanked or the unbanked, and they would talk about Africa, but it was always like used as like a way to add legitimacy for their money grabs. And they would almost use this as props. And even when they talked about Africa, you would have thought it was on Mars. Like literally they would say, and we're going to help the underbanked, underprivileged over there, billions of miles away. And on stage it'd be all white males. I'm like, y'all couldn't find one brother or sister, like not one, like y'all ain't got nobody at the school or up the street, like literally the internationalness of it. What are some of your thoughts about how that's manifested in this particular industry, particular blockchain? But then I think in the tech industry, it's consistently problematic.
Oh, for sure. It's so problematic. It's ridiculous. Like I've encountered those boys several times over, and every time I just roll my eyes. I roll my eyes, man. It takes me back to National Geographic and how they used to portray, Africa a certain way, right? So we had a generation of people that grew up thinking Africa only had huts. While in fact, during the 80s, Africa was, booming. I mean, there was some issues, right? But there was a lot of countries that were booming and actually doing better than the United States around that time. But you would never know that. So now you have, the tech bro knowing that that's another money grab, right? That's an opportunity there because they know several things need to be built for Africa. Realistically, there are still things that we're doing that's kind of backwards. We're not in the 21st century everywhere. There's people that, still don't have 24/7, electricity. By the saving grace of smartphones is the only way that a lot of people are able to show up in the 21st century. And so they know that there are pain points and issues, and they know that there's money in that, right? So now where we have individuals that really can't think of anything else that needs to be fixed, right? And so they come up with ideas and solutions that they need to save, these poor people in the global South. And Africa and Latin America is always one of those targeted areas. And they go there not really with the intentions of saving, because as you mentioned, they never have anybody that represent the people, the quote unquote people that they're trying to build a solution for, they see it as a money grab, and you never actually realize any of the solution. But the tides are changing, right? With the internet being the way that it is, and blockchain being the way it is, we're getting a lot more innovations coming from, Africa, coming from Latin America, from the very people that need it, and not necessarily these tech bros, right? Even though they get funding, we still have our people who are actually building solutions. And that to me, I think that's the real breakthrough of this technology, us being able to show up in this space and actually adding value versus, the way things were in Silicon Valley, where they thought themselves, some Asians, were the only people, that could actually potentially come up with solutions. But now we're seeing that, there's a lot of Africans in Africa, a lot of younger generation too, that are coming up with innovative solutions for the country.
And in the work you're doing, is it connecting? Are we trying to imitate the system that's harmed us? Or are we talking about creating a system to replace it? Like, again, I'm not trying to put words in my, I'm an extremist, so I'll talk about white supremacist ideology. And again, I don't want to see crypto colonizing our people just as much as the current financial system has done nothing but harmed us. In your teaching, is there something or things that you've picked up, or things that you think are key when people are looking at innovation, or how to be involved in being the answer to their own problems? Is there anything in some of the stuff that you're doing that can you can connect to that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the stuff that we do is we provide education about the technology, because a lot of people still don't know. An influx of people came in last year because of NFT, and that's all they know. So they don't know the technology behind it. So we take it back to the basic and actually educate people about the technology, and go from the fact that, just because there's a few use cases does not mean it's the end all and be all. I'm old enough to remember when the World Wide Web was around, right? When that was around, it wasn't the internet at that point. It was just the ability for us to read and receive emails. You got mail, right? But things escalated and evolved. And then we are now experiencing the several iterations of the World Wide Web, the internet, and, eventually we will experience Web3. And so in our teaching, one of the stuff that we emphasize is that we as people are able to create solutions and not rely on other people. We're shifting the mindset from being consumers. We're great consumers, okay? Right now, we're like one of the top, top two minorities. We're actually the number one that are involved in cryptocurrency, that are actually finding usage for it. But when it comes to being developers, we have a shortage there, and there's a need, right? Because everybody wants a developer. We know that's where the money is. So we encourage people to learn, Solidity smart contract, to learn coding. And, a lot of women, for several reasons, have steered away from tech or from coding. And so we're trying to encourage Black women to really get ourselves involved in coding, in hackathons. Hackathons is another experience that, people are finding value in and creating wealth out of, because you get to win money just for participating and doing certain things. And a lot of people oftentimes assume that those type of stuff, there's like barriers, like you need to be a master, you need to have all these things, which is not necessarily true. You could be a marketing individual that just has a marketing background and still participate in hackathons, right? And, several of the people that we've encouraged, actually, we had one woman that we encouraged to participate in a hackathon that was during the CoinDesk consensus a conference in June of this year, and she ended up participating and actually won. And she came on stage and told me, she was like, yo, just because you encouraged me, I went ahead and just said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Whatever happens, happens. And she actually won, So I'm like, we need more of that. We need our people to get over that barrier, to get over the potential fear factor, and just show up and just do, And so that's one of the things that we're doing in our academy, in our community.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think one of the things I will say, I never met anybody. No, I met very few people who were like super intelligent that were a part of the ecosystem of Silicon Valley, but they were audacious. I met folks with no degrees, no background, and yet they thought they were going to change the whole world.
Yeah.
And I meet our people, they might have 5 degrees and they still
Hmm.
not sure.
Yeah.
And the self-esteem issue, which is self, no one can create it for you, but there are things that other people do to try to take it out of you. I think the point you just said is such a great illustration where the sister won. What do you see are some of the things that we can do to continue what you just said about showing up and knowing that not only can we compete, like I even, again, this is me, I'm taking a little liberty, so I'm not putting these words in their mouth. When we start talking about inclusion, one of the things I realized, these folks are exclusive on purpose. Like, it's not
Yes.
that they don't know how to include. They don't want to compete against us. They literally know we'll take their lunch, and literally they put up all these like facades and barriers and all these fugazi reasons when truly we are clear that if they had to be in our shoes for one moment, they might jump off a bridge. So I'm very clear that we need to do something to make sure that our people do show up. And it sounds like the things that you're doing are a part of that. What are some of the things you got coming up? I know you're talking about what you do on a daily basis, but I know you're putting together some big things to get people to get their hands in on this.
Yes, definitely. I declared last year that 2022 was the year of us building. So one of the things that we're rolling out in December is the smart contract programming. It's part of an initiative that we have with Consensus. And we had this initiative to increase the number of Black women blockchain developers to 500,000 by the year 2030. It's
Go ahead.
ambitious, okay? But however, it's necessary, it's needed. And so our program is two-track. There's a non-technical track and a technical track. The non-technical, you learn about blockchain fundamentals, you learn about the technical fundamentals as well. And you come out really, being able to understand blockchain and also deciphering whether or not certain things or certain solutions need to be created off of the technology. With the technical side, you're really coming out and you're building your own smart contract, which is very valuable nowadays. Smart contract, the Ethereum blockchain, individuals, projects are looking for a smart contract developer, as well as corporations. They're starting to come into this and they want to build their own private smart contract. So there's opportunities that's going to explode, and we definitely want our people to be able to show up as builders. And then another stuff that we have coming up that I'm really excited about is the International Women of Blockchain. And Sinclair, you've done a successful conference every fall when it comes to us showing up in this space. And I always love it. Like, I look forward to it because it gives me a sense of pride to look around and be like, these are my people. These are people that look like me, right? And so we're bringing something similar to that, where it's all women speakers. We think it's necessary for us to showcase that, women are in this space, because a lot of people are still saying it's a tech bro space. But there are a lot of women that have their heads down. They're building, so either solutions or communities, educating. They're really more focused on like the community aspect. And they're not really out there, shining the spotlight on themselves. But really, for Women History Month, we want to do that March 22nd to the 24th in DC. So it's going to be in person. It will be our 3rd annual International Women of Blockchain. If you guys are interested, go. Tickets are live now. It's early bird tickets are up. We got student discounts, and definitely if there's a group of students that want to participate, definitely want you guys to, reach out to me. The website is womenofblockchain.org, womenofblockchain.org. Reach out to me if you have a group that wants to join. We definitely have discounts for groups. And you can reach out to me at iwb@bwbc.io.
Right. All right. So again, and where is it going to be in DC? Have y'all locked down everything, or is it?
We're still working on the final location,
Okay.
but
Cool. But DC, hey, DC, be in DC. What was the dates again?
March 22nd to the 24th. That's,
Uh,
cherry blossom, it's out, spring.
okay. Right. The weather's going to be good. You get your
Weather's gonna
plane
be
ticket.
good.
Get your plane ticket. Get your
Yes.
hotel, and know that it's going to be the place to be on those days. Now, I mean, of course, you've been in this space now for quite some time, and I think some of the recent news has, given people some, a little heartburn or misgiving, and people call things the winter, or the summer, the spring,
Yes.
whatever season this is. As Black folks, I would just hasten to say that we've kept a good heavy winter coat in some of the most summerest of seasons, because of how things have happened, and things happen for us, and we have to be resourceful and prepared. With that being said, what can you help some of our listeners understand about some of the things that have been in the headlines, to help them kind of understand or empower them to see, based on your perspective as a professional in the space?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
and thank you for organizing some of the Black thought leaders around what's been going on. That's amazing. And sister, thank you 1,000 times.
oh no, thank you, Sinclair. I mean, you basically showed that through your conference and your efforts that, Black people, we're here, right? And we're here in droves. And it's good to be surrounded by our people, because a lot of them I actually met during the summit. So yeah, I was able to bring together a lot of the Black blockchain crypto leaders. And after this whole fiasco with FTX and Sam, the founder, there was a need for us to come together and really try to figure out how we're going to navigate through this landscape. It's always something that I had in the back of my mind, and I actually talked to Cleb Messidor. Shout out Cleb. With the
Cleb Messidor. Woo!
So I spoke to her during the summer, and we kind of, mulled over the concept of, having our group be able to lift us up when we have certain things. And, with this whole thing with FTX, it was just like, enough is enough. I know that there's going to be regulations, and when regulations are pushed through, they oftentimes do not benefit us, because they always think that they need to save Black people. And that's not the case. Like, we've been able to navigate through this space. And even though there may be a few of us that get caught up in all that stuff, in mass, in drove, the people that are in this space, we still find it valuable, right? Because a lot of the efforts that we're doing, you, myself, Cleb, and other Black leaders, is really focused on educating, right? So that we won't get caught up in the nonsense that these tech bros want to come in with. So, with FTX, it's a shame that a lot of it was facade, right? And that's oftentimes the way that these projects come in. Like, people are seeing this space in a way as a money grab, unfortunately. But a lot of us that really find value in this space, we're actually trying to create a foundation, a solid foundation for us to be educated, for us to be able to, show up and utilize the technology for what it is. And we're seeing value in cryptocurrency. We're definitely seeing value in NFTs. And so I think a lot of what's happening right now is that we're lifting the hood. And one of the things that the bear market does for us is actually allow us to reassess and reevaluate stuff. And right now it's doing its job. It's doing its intended purpose, because none of this would have been disclosed if it was a bull market, right? They'll be able to, fluff the books a lot more. But with this bear market, we're actually getting rid of excess fat, right? And actually the people that survives the bear market are the people that actually, some of them are people that are valuable to the space, that really sees it as more than just a money grab, as really a foundation. And so we're starting to see that. I believe there's going to be a lot more because I think there's a cluster of individuals that were in on, creating this fluff. On IG, we're at bwbc.io. We actually have .io on it as well. On Twitter is BW Blockchain. And I'm not really sure if we're going to be on Twitter for too long because of the whole Elon Musk thing. That's a whole different story. But those two platforms we're heavy on, and definitely want y'all to connect with us there. If you have any questions, definitely you can use IWB at bwbc.io, and we'll, respond there as well.
Well, awesome, sister. Just thank you for your dedication, your love for us, your commitment to us. I think we don't say that enough. I know a lot of this takes a sacrifice. You have a choice of what you can do with your time, which is the most precious thing that we have. And the fact that you've chosen to make sure that all our sisters are plugged in the way they are and show up and show out. I think it's just we're grateful for you and grateful for what you continue to do. So thank you. And as I always end this thing, I would say I am because we are. I definitely wouldn't be me without you, sister. So thank you.
Thank you, Sinclair.
This is I Love Black People Radio on HUR Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free